Hey everyone, it's a very long story, so I don't know if anyone's even gonna read this. Also, I am not native, so please excuse grammar or spelling errors. Basically, I had a best friend that I knew from school. We lived 5 minutes apart and became best friends within a short time. We were inseparable and shared everything, to the point where I slept at her parents' house almost every night for about 2 months at 17, because I had problems with my mom. When I met her in 2016, I was 15, she was 18. I had my issues with depression and panic attacks. She had BPD, according to her, has self-harmed, and was overall very emotional, but so was ITBF. She was the best. I loved her so much. Hanging out with her was the most alive and happy I felt. I've always considered us partners in crime, almost like soulmates. She just had this thing about her. She's extremely charismatic, and once you get to know her, you wouldn't want to miss her again. I'm kind of the opposite, very shy at first, and I hate being the center of attention. But I also was at my lowest with her from time to time, due to her sometimes unreasonable behaviors, being overall very emotional, and sometimes just being aggressive and starting drama. I, as her best friend, always tried to support her, but realized that if I didn't agree with her, she'd feel betrayed and get angry at me. So I always tried to please her and not talk back, to avoid confrontation and just be on her good side. Fast forward to 2018, I had started smoking weed the year before, initially because I thought it could help with my panic attacks. She tried it too, and by that point we were smoking just for fun. We met a few guys around her age who were smoking as well, and so we hung out together. Pretty soon, she started a casual thing with one of the guys, and they started dating after a few weeks. These guys were basically drug addicts, taking MDMA, LSD, amphetamines, and smoking weed and drinking. We both got into it kinda, but after a month or two of doing drugs, I didn't want my life to take that kind of turn, so I stopped with everything except smoking weed and taking MDMA every few months. She was with her BF who was still addicted, so she took that stuff more frequent than me. I think that's a big part of it all going to shit later, because she got more and more emotional over time. She also started getting extremely toxic to her BF, very controlling and manipulative. They actually broke up for a few months, then got back together. But even after that, they were always fighting. At one point after their break, they stopped with the amphetamine and daily drug binges, just continued smoking weed. In the meantime, she became nastier to him, and to me as well. Threatening suicide multiple times, shutting off her phone, and while we're all looking for her, just out smoking a cigarette and her battery died. She pulled shit like that, always started fights, mostly with her BF but also with other friends. He wasn't a saint either, but he really loved her, and even back then I remember feeling so sorry for him sometimes. One minute she was angry, screaming at the top of her lungs, the next she was cool again. Sometimes from one minute to another her demeanor could change 180 degrees. Fast forward to the beginning of 2020, their relationship is at an all-time low. They argue almost every day. She's told me that she believes that she's only with him now because she gets free weed out of him. I told her many times at that point that they are just not good for each other. I couldn't possibly tell her that in my opinion. I thought that her actions were causing a lot of the issues between them, because then she'd be mad at me. So I always advised her to just break up, take some time for herself, and deal with her issues first before getting into another relationship. She always had a new BF very shortly after getting out of a relationship. One faithful night in March 2020, we were all hanging out, and after I went home they had a big fight. That started because he was petting a cat instead of cuddling up with her, by the way, and the fight ended with her crying and, according to both parties, her banging her head and shoulder against the wall so hard that she left a dent in the wall. For context, talking about a brick wall, not drywall. She stood in front of my house crying, and we talked a lot. She told me they were breaking up now, or at least going on a break. The next day in a group chat with another close friend of ours, she described it in a casual manner, like, he was screaming at me, and you know how I am, so I started banging my head against the wall, which made me rethink if things really happen that way. Oftentimes, she told small lies to exaggerate a story. So, at that time I'm thinking that this situation sucks for my friend, and I want to be there for her. And I was there for her, spending time with her whenever I was in town. I went to university on weekdays a few hours away. But I'm also thinking about her ex-BF, who over the years has become a good friend of mine too, and TBH I felt so sorry for him. He had moved in with her and now had to go back to his parents, who he had a difficult relationship with, lots of neglect and abuse, probably why he started drinking and doing drugs at a young age. He had also neglected a lot of his old friends because she didn't like them and started a fight whenever he wanted to hang out with them. So, I thought I just had to listen to his side as well. He told me what happened that night and told me he just wants his peace now, he's done with her, and that he feels like the biggest weight has been lifted off his shoulder. He told me he understands that I would want to cut contact because I'm her best friend. I told him that's bullshit and that I won't cut contact. I'm here if he needs to talk, and oh boy, that we did. We talked a lot, and the more I listened I realized that she fucked him up on a much deeper level than I thought, and that she lied to me on different occasions about certain situations, just as she lied to him about some stuff. I was sad but not surprised, since she pulled shit like that more than once. At first she said that she feels sorry for him and wishes him the best, they just need space, and even texted him for a bit after. After about 2 weeks, he stopped replying though because, like he said, he was done with her. Suddenly, she started saying that he ruined her life and told me that she will cut contact with everyone that keeps contact with him. I told her that I wanted to stay neutral in this situation. She ignored that and just repeated hysterically that she will ghost anyone who still talks to him. To me it felt like she wanted to do damage control because she knew if I talked to him he's gonna tell his side, and some lies could surface. I told her that I'll be there for her, but that I think both of them are at fault. I left her place and hung out with him the same evening. The next day I texted her, no reply. I called, no answer. I didn't want to run after her for the 100th time, so I stopped trying. After about 2 weeks of silence, I texted her asking if that was it. She actually replied this time, telling me she doesn't need me in her life and that I have lost her. I tried telling her that this was all unnecessary, but she didn't want to hear it. Maybe I could have salvaged our friendship if I gave in, told her what she wanted to hear, and cut contact with him. But frankly, I had enough, and so I gave up. That was the end of our friendship. She cut contact to another friend that also didn't want to take sides as well. I was angry at first, but shortly after I also felt kind of relieved, which I felt horrible about. I had a bit of a mental breakdown as well, and just wanted my life to change, now that I had lost my best friend. I quit all other stress factors in my life, university, drinking, broke up with my then BF, and just wanted to heal. Her ex, and I basically became best friends from then on. I suddenly had lots of time on my hand due to COVID lockdown, and so did he. We hung out every day. Now we were best friends, hanging out, both single and bored, so we started sleeping together. Neither of us had feelings at that point, and we were just upgrading our friendship at that point. He got a job at construction, and even though he was tired, he still walked 40 minutes to my place every evening to spend time with me. This went on for like 6 months until my mom moved to another town, which meant that we could only hang out on weekends. And I really started to miss him. A lot actually, which led me to realize that maybe I want more than just stay friends, but I was hesitant to tell him because I didn't want to lose my best friend again. But I also knew if we didn't end up together and we would find other partners, eventually we would have to stop seeing each other at some point. I told him just that. He told me he feels the same way, but he just doesn't want to rush anything because I am very important to him. So we just continued on almost like before, but now it was more intimate. We were now kissing and cuddling, and soon it felt like we were together already. So one day I asked him if he wanted to officially date, and he said yes. That was April 2021, a bit more than a year after my friendship with his ex ended. We've been together since then, and are now talking about getting married and having kids soon. We also have a cat together. Sometimes I still think about my friend, mostly because her now BF is good friends with my BF's best friend. She still talks shit about us and hates our guts. She is also still a hot mess, and according to our friend, she is even nastier to her current BF. I have made my peace a long time ago, and honestly, I don't hate her. I don't know what I'd think about me in her situation. I realize that she has a lot of mental issues, and losing both her BF and her best friend in the span of a month must have been really hard on her back then. Sometimes I ask myself if I was the bad guy in that situation. She probably thinks I was after him all along, but that is really not how it happened. He was just there when I needed a friend, and it turned into the best relationship I've ever had. Despite all this, I can't help feeling bad for her, and a little part in my brain still feels bad for how things turned out. What do you guys think? Am I the asshole in this?